I mean, I'm pretty certain everyone went over the others' notes in the document before this, so I was pretty much ready. Okay, what is Nico saying? Yeah.
Oh, I honestly, it's been a little bit of messy, so I only had time to write a little bit when I only thing that I read is reference from Niccolò about the chef, and I was like, damn, that's so good. That is incredible, man. Like, that's exactly what it is.
No, you know what? ChatGPT wrote that.
No.
The English was
that? Let's say that the 70%, but yes, the idea of the dishes is ChatGPT. It's not me. Yeah.
I love that we can get like these little.
Yeah, I love ChatGPT also. I don't know why, but yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Novel interaction, isn't it?
I mean, like the series is like write as a human and be as much like human as possible, and then you change it. But yeah, it's the dish is a great idea. Yes, I would say so.
Yeah, I really liked it too. It's super fun.
So guys, so basically every website that we want to present, like someone share the screen and then we basically drop like the
website. Isa share. Yeah, we send the link in the chat and then Isa shares. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I just want to say hello, everyone, as we are now live, and I'm seeing some messages from the chat. Say hi, say hello. Let us know if you can hear us. It would be very embarrassing if we started talking and you couldn't really hear what we were saying. But yeah, let us know in the chat where you're watching from and whether or not you can hear us, maybe. Pizza. Yes, we have a lot of very insightful comments. Sophia's here. Hello, Sophia.
Hey, Sophie.
Hi.
Just joined the chat as well.
Mm-hmm. Like now I also want to join the chat.
Yeah. Absolutely. Feel free to open up the YouTube link we sent. And that way you can, because we've had a lot of great experiences with some of our guests interacting with the chat and answering questions. So yeah, feel free to go ahead. Thank you for letting us know, Victorine, that you can hear us. Hello, Irene. Filippo again, yes. Filippo, thank you for attending multiple panels at Dora Expo. It is so good to see you again. Well, in consideration of time, I mean, why don't we go ahead and get started? So, hi everyone again, and welcome to Dora Expo, Web Design in the AI Era. And I'm your host, Isa. And I'm so excited to welcome this just incredibly talented and accomplished bunch today to explore how we can utilize novel interactions to craft unique visions for brands. So if you're just joining this conference, I'll just reintroduce myself. I'm the head of community at Dora. We are a no-code 3D website builder that brought you Dora AI, our text website AI tool that combines AI with no code to create 3D and animated websites. And so if you can't tell, we're a little bit obsessed with empowering designers with the ability to experiment and create new web experiences and interactions. So this is why I'm just really excited today to find out how we can sort of utilize that. How can we find innovative design solutions for different brands? So without further ado, let's welcome our lovely panelists and get to know them a bit better. And let's see. Once and an avid speaker and of course a mentor to many, Liva.
Now I'm blushing. Thank you so much. A very kind intro. Very happy and excited to be here, and thank you so much for having me. And honestly, I couldn't be more happier to do a panel with
recording in progress.
Sorry, such a good friends, such a good friends in here. So I'm looking forwards to opening all the discussions.
I am so excited to have you here too. Thank you so much. And speaking of media monks, Alex, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, same. So happy to be here. So I'm Alex. I'm a visual designer at Media Monks, mostly doing style proposal for pitches. So same, like super happy to be in there.
Amazing. Super happy to have you as well. And next, why don't we listen to what Tina has to say. As I understand, you're currently based in London, and we've seen you at a lot of other conferences like Adobe Max. Just a really big fan of your work as well. So would you like to go ahead and take it away?
Yeah. So hello, everyone. I'm Tina Touli, and I'm a London-based creative director and graphic communication designer. I work in a kind of variety of fields, like from like classic branding to illustration, graphics, typography is kind of like my main focus, as well as like also a bit of web design. So I'm very, very excited to be part of this panel today and chat with all these amazing, incredible folks here. And yeah, looking forward to our chat.
Looking forward to it as well. And last but not, well, sorry. Next we have, I'm so sorry. It
was about to be a challenge between me and Nico.
It was definitely about to be a challenge.
Actually, you can speak as one person only. I mean, or
yeah,
we
exactly.
can Italian, for example. We can do both.
Exactly. Yeah, that could be good.
Yeah, but I mean, can we guess? We've seen you as a jury member at awards. He's an amazing freelance creative director, and I believe you're based in Amsterdam at the moment. I've seen you speak at multiple events as well. So let's welcome Niccolò.
Thanks. Too many, I think, but yeah, thanks. Yeah, super excited to be here, guys. And yeah, looking for like to have some great discussion about AI and interactions, and yeah, super excited. Thanks for having me, for sure. And I mean, I can like imagine like a better panel than this, I guess.
Glad to hear it. And now, last but not least, and you've probably seen him at some of our previous panel as well, but Filippo, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Filippo. I'm head of the studio at Adoratorio. I'm so glad to be joining friends that I've met all over in many conferences all over the world, from the States to Europe to actually Tel Aviv and so on and so forth. It's amazing to be here. So many talented people in this panel. I'm super excited to discuss what we do every day.
Love you, Phil.
I'm super excited too, and I believe the introductions don't really end here, because actually I would like to ask whether or not y'all would be able to share some examples of sort of projects, brand campaigns, or any other initiatives that you've worked on before that you believe are particularly relevant to this panel. In other words, effectively utilize novel interactions to elevate their brand.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty certain we have a ton here. So first of all, well, we have Media Monks on the stage with Liva and Alex, which are masters at this. But we have so many chances, right? The movement towards what we call novel interaction, and what you see probably with most of us here on stage right now is that in time we always moved more towards a very 3D based experience, right? And that's fantastic, because technically it's incredibly challenging to achieve, right? But at the same time, there are the mindset that brought most web designers and directors and so on, and developers as well, to achieve this kind of results started from what now we could call easier, more simple, more integrated interactions within the experiences, like over effects or very peculiar interaction for each single experience that's tied to the creative concept. What we have here, well, it's our one of our latest websites for Pasqua wines, and I think it very much embodies this kind of experience, right? Where we have these very huge, now I say huge, then Liva will probably show Persepolis and I'll eat my words back. But this villa, this Italian villa where we can go around and leave this House of the Unconventional theme that the brand had for their communication, right? And so this is something that pretty much, I believe, is a good example of a novel interaction, but not the only one. In this case, we wanted to push things very forward for a very specific user base, okay? And therefore, we could toy with this 3D environment, in this case, because our objective was to shock the user, but there are so many other ways without needing to work 3 months on a 3D environment, okay, to actually achieve this. So I think I'd love to see the references that the other panelists have as well to actually discuss more on this topic. I think
it's such a strong reference that you just shared, because it's so incredible, because you can see the light is changing when you're entering the different rooms, and that is so incredible. I think you didn't just tell a story, you also gave a feeling, and different feeling was reflected in the different rooms, and all those micro details with the butterflies or the pouring wine out, they added such a strong kind of a sense of feeling to it. I think it's one of the most beautiful examples I've seen in quite a long time. Honestly, the fact, I don't know if you guys noticed, but as you pan into the room, the entire light rays were moving a little bit. And I think it's incredible to achieve something like that. It gave me
Thank you so much. I'll give the props to the team, because again, this was a very long project, and you know well how you achieve this kind of results, and how much work and how many professionals and people and will and passion is poured into this. So it's thank you so much again.
I also want to add that, like, for example, once you exit the experience and you look at the actual lifestyle photos in a website, they really match with the experience, with the look and feel and the light. And I think somewhere at the bottom in some of the previous explorations where you were going through, we could see, like, for example, barrels in a room and then the light rays coming in, and such a strong connection with what you created in 3D and what was the reality. It was really beautiful to see.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very much a work, and as it often happens, people then see and users see these kind of experiences, right? But they generally don't see how much work and planning there's before actually going into this kind of result, right? Many things change. At least that's for us. We're a smaller studio, so we have a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to rooms. Say when we see the tiger room and everything, we had 2 carpets down there. That's something of a stylistic note that we added later. But all the steps that you go through when thinking of this, and I think that for the reference you will probably be bringing. It was like months of strategy before actually working on anything 3D. Yeah, it is such a fantastic journey. And again, novelty interactions, I mean, these technically, okay, from a technical standpoint, designers and developers may look at this and actually see, okay, yeah, this is fantastic. But there are people from the craft, right? So they see the depth of work that is in there. What we wanted to achieve as well was the possibility for a normal user, okay, a common user, to actually, well, first of all, have this kind of experience, which I think it's even more beautiful in the loader itself, where you are into this fresco that you see behind the payoff, pretty much. And when you click, you get out, and you're pretty much, you find yourself within this villa, right? So there's this wow effect on one side. But on the other, you're telling the story, you're telling the concept already. And I think that's something that some of these novel interactions, when we speak about experiences, right, rather than websites per se, that is missing is the actual storytelling, right? Giving a purpose to all these magnificence of 3D and imagery and colors to actually tell a story to the user so that he understands what he's looking at. At the same time, we're talking about a corporate website. So if someone wants to go into the wines, or an accountant, or whoever needs to go into a specific page, they can skip the whole thing. But yeah, I'd love to see some of your references as well.
Yeah, beautiful word, Phil. Really, like as always, you guys like nailed it. What 3D tools did you use? Blender or Cinema 4D?
Blender, yeah. We used a mix, but Blender was the main tool. Some of the beautiful part is that, of course, we've worked with 3D in the past quite a lot with WebGL and so on. But in this case, of course, we shut it out of the room in terms of what we usually introduced. So the beautiful part, I think, about the process here was finding the right connection between the 3D team. Okay, I think three people almost worked on this in terms of 3D, two mainly with one added, and then our whole development team with 3 people. But finding what could be improved in terms of performances by doing it in code. The beautiful part we spent on that book pile that you have on the room on the left, Isa, we spent, I think, 2 weeks in finding out how to better improve the performances. Because of course, what we have, everything we have here, if I remember correctly, weighs pretty much a megabyte or something like that. Okay, and so that was the difficult part in making an experience that's so 3D, and Liva knows this better than anyone here, making it usable, making it smooth on devices, on mobile, on desktops, without having 3 hours of loading time ahead, right? Because that's part of the weight is part of the experience as well.
It's beautiful.
Somebody from audience is asking about the actual, how does this look like on a mobile, and how was that experience?
So pretty much, I won't lie, there was a lot of fixing that we've done to the FOV, so the point of view of the camera, the angle, and so on, to actually make it impactful from mobile as well. This was the most difficult part in terms of tweaking, because we wanted to have this very ample view on desktop and actually give this air, give this breathing room, while at the same time maintaining the same sense on mobile. So it's still cropped, let's say, but it's cropped with a different, if I remember correctly, with a different point of view and camera, so that it looks complete, let's say. Otherwise you would simply crop things and it would look bad. So yeah, it was very much a custom work in this specific case, rather than a responsive mobile first kind of work.
Interesting. Very cool.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, also, like, usually with this kind of experience, it's hard to find the right balance, right, in between functionality or like usability and also like visual impact. And like here, I think it's super clever the way you solve that with the contextual cursor, when the user like start to explore a little bit, and then like, oh, it's like an eye right now, so I can click and interact, and then like
exactly that eye, which I think is, if we remove the whole WebGL environment, the eye itself, it's one of those interactions that Nico knows so well, that actually tells you something right away, right? That's the basic kind of interaction that us, I mean all panelists here, we've been using for the longest time on website to indicate something. Like it was the magnetic, like we used 5 years ago, let's say, cursor that tied to a CTA, or the moving elements, or in this case, this little animation, right? And those, I think, are the most useful. That came, the eye is also used somewhere else on the website, but the idea to actually have it on the left was simply by user testing. We were in Toronto before we launched, and we were testing it out. We were showing it to friends from Locomotive, another studio, and they kept clicking not on the CTAs, which triggered me, you don't know how much, but on the sides, right? And so we said, yeah, okay, we had scrapped that initially, but then we said, yeah, we're adding sensitive areas on the side to actually scroll around. We're adding the eye and so on and so forth. And I saw it's the same way that Isa actually browsed it when she opened it. So it was the good choice, pretty much. Do user test.
Well done.
Guys,
but
please.
Let's go over Isa to another website.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Please, I want to know everything about it.
No, we can have a chat, Nico. You know very well. We can have a chat this weekend.
Yeah, beautiful work, Phil. Really. Say like congrats
Thank
to
you.
Andrea and Camila.
I will.
Really. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to share a particular website that they've worked on, and sort of highlight sort of what you did in terms of the novel interactions that help differentiate the brand and create sort of this memorable experience that Filippo was talking about?
I think we have a fun, the Spotify example. I think that was really good. That Alex.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I can talk about Spotify Studio. So Spotify Studio is this initiative from Spotify that, so they basically like rent some places for beginner artists to record and then like have access to professional recording equipment. And then they wanted to launch this platform to help these young talents during like on their musical journey, basically. So I think it's quite interesting in the sense that then we've been like using WebGL or like interaction models, not by implemented 3D model, but by animating shapes in the background. And for example, if we stop on that component and we mouse over it, just below with the random button, like we can see that the card will then like be moving a little bit accordingly to the cursor. And like, for example, like this card on the right-hand side. So it's like this like super tiny moment that does not distract the experience. And then you can completely remove the WebGL and the experience will still be like completely functional as well. So it's also like this challenge we're facing working with partners or clients where the CMS could be seen as a limitation where the client have to update data like every month or like every whatever. So we have to come up with a flexible layout but still, you know, like Spotify is a brand that really like invites to movement because obviously like it's a brand that is like all about music and music is like want you to move your body, right? So I think this is like this was like a good example to integrate some kinds of this novel interaction. And if we go even down the page, we have like, for example, in the studio list over here, like same, if we like mouse over this card, such as like the Los Angeles one over here, you can see that, yeah, there's like tiny moment like this that acts somehow like a micro reward for the user. So it's like this like direct interaction with the platform. And, you know, this interaction, they can only live in the digital world, right? Like contrary to print or video advertisements. I think as designer, we should definitely like try to push the envelope to see like, yeah, what is feasible or not.
I think that I love the fact that it lives a little bit in a control of where your mouse is going with the motion in there the most, because it's not like you're doing a hover state and then, you know, there's one animation in the background. It's more intuitive of where your hover is. And I think that's kind of like a beauty of it, because for the longest period of time, most of you also know, like whenever we talk about, for example, double accessibility and WebGL, we always kind of stay away from those things because they don't really live together in that matter. But then I think what Alex and the team did there is pretty incredible, because they've found an interesting way of introducing that while still keeping very visible, but using like a micro interactions. And I think we kind of looked into the beauty of this example because it's so different than, for example, what Filippo was talking about. This is more focused on kind of like UI and how bringing that into a life. So yeah, to keep it more.
And what you see with the Discover Our programs, I think it's the CTA. I love it so much. The one below here, it's so fantastic because it's simple on one side, but that's pretty much where we all not started, but where the interaction, right? Where having interactions from user with a website to have the website react to what you do is born from, right? And that's the first step, because between us, okay, again, like I said, we see major Web3, WebGL, whatever, we're super stoked because we work on those every day and we know how hard it is to achieve. But in the end, what we want to convey to the user, I think, it's simply that branded experience, right? That feeling. The feeling, I think, is brought over by these kind of interactions, right? By actually seeing that the brand reacts with you when you go into their website, by feeling like Alex, like you said correctly and exactly, that the website is the brand and it's not just a static UI with whatever put in with information in it, right? We're talking about Spotify. We're not talking about some boring corporate. We want it to be moving. We want it to react to what we do. We want it to be dancing. And in the CTAs, it's very, very clear. But also in the animations that you used for the 2D illustrations that you have down below, it's so on brand like. So it's I think it's in the tiny details that the major difference is made, right? This CTA, I love it.
And talking about tiny details, like it's incredible how when you hover over like the buttons and based on the mouse movement, there is like this kind of like field in like animation based on where you actually like you came in. If you go like in a secondary page, it's crazy how like Media.Monks every time like treat care like these details very carefully. Yeah, there you go. So based on like your mouse, this is like lovely. It's a very, I mean, like the website is crazy, and I really like
it's beautiful how there's something for everyone. Like Nico, if you're a normal user, right, you wouldn't notice what Nico just noticed. But Nico noticed it because he does those every day. Okay, but he said, okay, that's where the craft is. It's not just a switch in color that starts from one point A and goes to point B. It's actually a variable that starts from where I get in with the mouse, right? So the layers on those are then what makes it. Oh yeah, that's the magnetic effect that we were speaking about earlier. That's the fantastic, I think, depth in doing this kind of animation, because there's so much you can do on such a little CTA, right?
It might looks like also kind of like, like a simple website, but I'm looking at right now like also like the dev stack tool, like, like Content.io, React as frameworks, Next.js, GSub, Node.js, Next.js also, Lenis for the smooth scroll, WebCap to bundle like the resources. I mean, it's as always like Media.Monks like very treat everything very carefully by using like the most like
advanced
advanced like tools and frameworks, and congrats, Liva, Alex, like really.
That's I love it.
Such a lovely words. It's all Alex.
It's very
by the way.
It's all Alex.
Thanks. Yeah, also like another challenge that we had to face for this one is that the client was very keen on having the website being doubly accessible. And we all know how what a challenge it could be sometimes. So yes, like, and also like once again, like really wanted to push for this tiny moment of delight, or like tiny Easter eggs everywhere. Like even if we click on whatever pages, I don't know, if we click on the Los Angeles card, for example, and access to another page, like same, like trying like to get like these details on transition, or like
the transition is wow.
So, and if you scroll down the page, also we can also see like some other reference to music, like for example, like those cards that could be dragged left and right, and then like having this like jukebox kind of feeling. You can also like find this other interaction in the component below, when like it's almost a similar interaction as well, but then you can drag the disc up and down as well, so to like jump like from one card to another. So yeah, I'm super proud of the work from the tech team. It's awesome to see this design concept coming to life.
It's incredible. I love this website. It feels like so simple when you just launch it, and then you discover all those like little interactions that really bring it to life, I feel like. So yeah, well done, guys. Very, very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just having so much fun like listening to this analysis and playing around with the website.
And so you can like see like those hover card as well on the labs page over here, like explore labs, like that jump like from different colors. So yes, it was like all about finding like small Easter egg moment to keep the it's called the user interest, basically, like to and also like never leave the user on a dead end from the page, always trying like to rebound to other part of the website to ultimately maximize conversion rate.
I mean, you said something that's beautiful. I think is in that you are having so much fun in browsing them, right? And that's something that I think, and that's why we had to all of the audience. We had our own file in the background where we share the references that we wanted to share and so on and so forth. And pretty much all of us also share the references from someone else, right? Of course, now we're seeing a few that we built because it's easier for us to speak about them, but we shared references from some of the panelists here, but also from people that are simple friends or colleagues and so on and so forth. And I think that the beauty of maintaining the fun and the and simply the awe in experiencing new websites, okay, and in experiencing websites from other people that have great ideas and great interactions and great experiences within them is what actually keeps our work relevant. It keeps adding to what we do every day and to the designs that we do, right? Because if you lose that, you simply start doing boring stuff every day. And if you work with bore in your head, it's impossible for people that will then navigate the website to actually have to feel the feeling that you wanted to convey with it, right?
And
100%.
you guys are all our references, right? So when you need to inspire from someone, like literally that is the list of people that you go to inspire. Also Locomotive, I have to admit, like they, you mentioned them before.
They're good.
Also
They're good.
the references in a
The first one on the
document.
list. Yeah.
Right? And then the 3D, oh my God, like
Yeah, so
the team. So
There you go.
yeah, there's a thing. So whenever I don't know, I do a class or like a teach university or something, my number one reference is always Locomotive. And it's not just because their work is absolutely incredible and amazing, but also because they are such an incredible people. They're so fun and they're so open and they're so welcoming and they give you feedback and share thoughts and ideas. And it's they are, I feel like, a pinnacle of an open design community that you wish that everybody would be like. And if you go on their team page, that's why I was thinking about them when it was at 3D interactions, because you literally in their team page can see how much they're having fun because they have all of their team literally shown. I think if you click on agency, I think that's
Agency,
where,
yeah, I think so.
yes, they all have
And-
a model of them, which is
I
incredible.
had the chance to.
I'll go up
I
a
had
little
the
bit.
chance to speak with them.
There we go.
To speak with, and they actually went over the process of the 3D, which is incredibly, it's quite simple. They did it all in house with 3D cameras and a simple app. Mathieu actually talked about it in a panel at a conference in Toronto. But the other thing I love so much about this website is the animation, okay, the entry effect that texts have everywhere on the website. These techie, hacky thing that happens to the body copy and all the words, right? Where words exchange and so on and so forth, which tells a story by itself. There's one effect on text on this website, one, and it's so great that it simply tells the story and tells their positioning as a studio, as an agency, that they want to convey and so on. So it's simply beautiful. So yeah, they were very proud about the website. So shout out to Frederic Dust, Jean-Francois, and everyone. They make such fantastic work. Also, they launched with a fantastic reel from Kat.
I mean, I think that
amazing.
you can recognize the greatness of Locomotive by the agency page, like by, exploring like the elements with the team. And I guess that is the reflection of their vibes, the reflection of their work. And it's truly amazing.
Like it's a
And it's beautiful the
combination
way they changed, right? Please, Liva, you go.
No, I just mean it's just amazing because it's it's a beautiful design, and the font and the layout and everything is really kind of like like a pinnacle, but then it has that dash of that creativity and fun into it. So it has that balance of being this super professional but super fun as well at the same time. And I have no idea how they managed that so well, but it's brilliant.
Mhm.
Can I tell you something? I think there's a lot of Isabel Moranta's touch in this website. Okay, she's a fantastic designer, but just so we can put things into perspective, she was a teacher before, okay, and she's been designing, if I remember correctly, for 3 years now. So that's the achievement she got in 3 years of work. Yeah, I felt bad as well. Just wanted to put it out there.
That's impressive. That's impressive. Also, like I love like how they have like this editorial design so on point. Like you, when you jump like from one page to another, the background change, but you're almost not noticing it, even though like this red is like really in your face. But yet, like the layouts and the text effects makes the overall experience so consistent. So it's like same. Yeah, it could have been like some kind of I don't know, like brutalist feeling, but it feels surprisingly smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving the cohesion we're seeing here, despite like all the very adventurous things we're seeing across like the different interactions. And I'm also really just glad to see sort of the range of examples we're covering here, because I feel like there's a pretty big contrast between sort of the incredibly immersive 3D environment that Filippo showed us earlier versus now we're talking a lot more about micro interactions and sort of these things that are maybe a little more subtle. And so actually, I feel like this might be a good transition to start talking about how sort of small or emerging brands with maybe limited resources or like limited capacity for incorporate some novel interactions into their branding strategies more effectively.
I go first.
I'm happy to. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I do think that I mean, talking about AI recently, I do think that exploring the latest dev stack tools can be a game changer. For example, like for emerging brands, maybe they can start with a low budget, or like they're just like they don't know actually like the complete like focus on the goals about the company. And I do think that it's just only like capabilities, but it's creating like also like micro interaction, for example, and transition become like a part of the experience itself, and it can be like an improvement to the whole basically like user journey. And I do think that doesn't need to be like over complex, and I do think that at the same time probably it's all about like how you start. It's all about how you basically like understand how the brand it will be, the visual strategy behind, and on that basically like position you can understand the JavaScript code, for example, at the end, and you can try to understand how mix up both things, how mix up like the strategy, and then understand how you can basically like create something relevant that basically is reflected inside the strategy through animation. And then I think it's the right way basically to convey and improve branding strategies effectively. Yeah.
Tina, did you want to add on to that?
Yes, of course. So yeah, I'm going to talk from a slightly different perspective from everyone else, I guess, in the panel, since my main kind of focus is into graphics, typography, moving image, branding. So I wouldn't like describe myself as like specializing in web design. I work more into like web design as an extension of my services towards my clients. So that leads to working quite a lot of like smaller projects, a bit more experimental sometimes, that don't necessarily have like a crazy budget or like resources in order to make like some lovely interactions like everyone else shared in the room here. But yeah, I wanted to highlight that it's not always about having like all those like incredible resources and stuff. You can always make interactions in even like a very, very simple website. It's just about a kind of like approach to be a bit more clever or fun, like add this low touch there, something that could push the interaction a bit farther. So it's all about like sitting down and thinking, okay, what could I use? Even if it's like the very, very basic, like template-based website, there is still space there to bring in this interaction, this kind of like special thing that would make it the user remember the page, enjoy like the content and everything. So it's more a matter of like finding your way. So start with what you have and you figure it out as you go, and you can always like push the website further and further as the brand or the client develops at the same time.
I like that a lot. I think not everything is, not everything needs to be about something big. If you actually, sometimes it's nice to start with a small, minimal, lovable product, right? And then slowly think what is that moment that can convey a little bit more brand personality. Maybe it's a specific way of icon moving. Maybe it's a specific micro little thing, or maybe, for example, you open a pop-up and it pops in 3 different locations while it appears there, and it doesn't require that much of a work, but it has that one little thing that kind of like adds that little dash of playfulness and something unique to the personality. I think whenever we're designing digital products, it's quite important to remember that they all live with their own kind of a tone of voice and they are like a little personas, right? And how do you translate them in the best way possible to give them the actual life? I think that's interesting.
Yeah, like completely agree with you, Liva. And I remember like I've been to this design conference once, and there's this talk by a designer called Hassan Rahim. Not sure if you know him. He's like proper heavyweight, and he did like some stuff for Nike, some I think like album cover for Marilyn Manson as well. And he said something that really resonates with me as well. He said basically that client is an illusion. And most of the time, like you got the most restriction from what could be seen as the biggest or most prestigious clients. But you can, and most of the time also in opposite, you can have like the most fun with clients with a more humble scale. So yeah, I think it's also like, I think that if as a designer you have fun working on a project, people will definitely feel it in the experience.
But I think it's very interesting, like what you just said, and then looking back at the work that you shared with Spotify, I think, that is established brand that has its kind of like a guidelines and everything else, and yet you managed to bring something very unique and very different to it, and that kind of shows the client is an illusion, because sometimes when you start working with a bigger brand, you go like, oh, there's nothing I can really add to it, I need to follow the components. But then when you open up a little bit of a mind and go like, but how can I make it more live, how can I push it, like you mentioned the juice box thing, like how can I create that, and that kind of completely removes that illusion because you have that opportunity. And I think that's an interesting way. I also agree, like just because you have a big client doesn't always mean that you can create something unique. Sometimes you can create a little bit more unique work with a smaller clients, but I think you kind of proved me a little bit wrong with the Spotify there.
Thanks, Liva.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I very much agree with what Tina was saying, as well as everybody else. I truly believe in the power of constraints, right? When you have little budget and so on, and you have to truly milk an idea out of your mind, that's probably one of the best situations to find yourselves in, right? And that's the beauty of smaller websites, the more editorial website. We saw a few in their editorial approach with one gimmick, okay, they convey what they want to convey. And also, I think that it also depends on the industry you're working with, right? So for some industries, smaller, less impactful, let's say less visually impactful animations, interactions, and so on are already completely out of the blue for their normal user base, right? So there's so much thought that goes into that. When I think of luxury, okay, someone comes, even if they have, or they're starting a small brand, I know that most likely I'll have to shoot it out of the park if I want to make them stand out digital wise compared to their competitors, right? At the same time, when you work on other fields, we actually worked on something like this with Niccolò a few years back in a pro bono project for Cool Down. It was a project backed by let me just get it up here. Okay, here it is. In a project backed by LinkedIn. In terms of advertisements, okay, and pretty much we had to work with a non-budget. It was a pro bono project, and actually convey this. It's not a company I'm losing. I don't have the name right now, which is Cool Down, who pretty much helps people with Down syndrome all over the world to actually join the workforce and enter the job market in an easier way, right? They do this campaign every year. This time, I think it was 2020, Nico, and then it was sent back to 2021 because of COVID, as we know. And what we did is, the beautiful part, I think, is in the interaction at the beginning, where we have all this video, which is sung by Sting, who pretty much where people with Down syndrome get hired for various jobs with a very catchy song. And all the video goes and pretty much focuses on these hands that are shaking, right? Which is the symbol of when you actually get hired, pretty much. And when you go into the loader, when you start the experience, the animations that you do, instead of clicking click enter, you actually grab one of the hands and bring them together. And I think this is very, very beautiful. We didn't shoot the video. The agency from New York, friends of ours did. But you see, we have this very nice gamey interaction here. And instead, if you go into the About section, you can actually see what the company does and actually get in touch. The most beautiful part was with a very simple front. We have 2 pages. We have an experience on one side where you click and you have an animation, and we have this more informative page. But if you go into the Hire Now on the top left, it was beautiful, the work behind this in actually connecting all worldwide associations that work with Core Down in the various countries to actually be able for people to get in touch and say, okay, yeah, I'm a person with Down syndrome, or I have this company, from both sides, and actually connect the two. So I think it was very simple, minimal lovable product in terms of concept and in terms of features, okay, like Liva would say, but at the same time, very, very effective, very strong on the front with the beautiful campaign, and simply work on the other side. So yeah, it was also quite successful. I'm very happy. The first people hired through this website was hired for Ferragamo, which is another of our clients. So it was super fun, and we didn't actually tell them we worked on this. So,
I mean, Filippo already like break down all the technical parts, like very, very good, like as always. I mean, like, I just want to add something that if you will never like anyone have like the chance to work with the Dorio, they're going to realize what means like having fun with a dream team, and they're great. That's just one I want to add. Yeah.
You are great too. We worked with Niccolò on the design for this one. So it was very, very much, I think probably the first project we worked together. I think it was before the other. Yeah. So yeah, it was super fun and beautiful. And working for a good cause, it's also great, because then you can only spend, so you want to spend more time on these because it's for a good cause, and you do, I swear. But at the same time, of course, you have to keep it tight and actually pull it off. We also had a hard deadline in the beginning before actually COVID broke out and the deadline went to hell. But yeah, very, very proud of this project, the collaboration, and so on.
Always goes well, like every time.
Yeah,
even with
deadlines. Yeah, whatever.
You both are great, and it's so nice, honestly. You both are incredible, and then such a amazing talents, and it's so nice to see such a beautiful collaboration. And honestly, I had a little sneak peek on this example a couple of days ago, because we kind of like shared the examples and stuff with each other, and honestly, the handshake really, really stuck with me. And then once you were showing this again, like I instantly knew that this is about the handshake, because
there it is.
I think it's such a beautiful, tiny
an idea
with your heart.
Yeah. And it comes up with these ideas. It's our one of
like
our
every time. Wait.
Director.
Just like take 1 hour to think about that, and you take just like 5 minutes. Why?
Yeah,
how is it possible? Like, yeah.
Is that kind of person? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah.
Very beautiful work.
Okay. How the hell is your computer not exploding right now with 4 websites open? Mine would already be like fuming out of the world, but
yeah.
You know that sound when a plane goes up and your laptop goes like.
Yeah, exactly.
I have it every time I open Stable Diffusion. It goes like. I'm like, geez, no, relax.
Well, maybe it's a testament to how well these websites were built. I mean, I'm having no performance problems right now, so
thankfully.
But that's actually a good like segue, I feel, because I mean, we kind of touched on this earlier, but there's always sort of this question about the trade-off, right? Like you want to maintain a balance between sort of having these innovative interactions, but you also want to be able to provide that seamless user experience, right? And consider accessibility, not just in terms of like how usable is the website, but like, can people actually access it? Like, can I load this site? So especially to address sort of some concerns, right, about what is the value for interactive designs and how do we sort of justify the costs and highlight the benefits? You know, how do we maintain this balance?
And that's a great question. I mean, probably we should like talk about this for like an hour or something. But
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess it depends from like a lot of factors, but from like a technical standpoint, I will say that it's very important like to understand, as I said before, the technical like restriction that you have, that they're compared with the strategy initially. So for example, you have, I don't know, like page rendition, interactions, and like 50 pages of a case study, a big backend, like back office, like database. So based on that, I think it's very important to understand not just like how much you animate the website, but especially what kind of like dev stock you're going to use. And especially like trying to have a seamless, like you said, and kind of like a good balance in order to maintain over time that website. Because, for example, it's something that I failed once, for example, and the website was so big, back office was so big that we over animated the website, and I can say I fucked up. Yes, I fucked up. And basically, yeah, I mean, like the website was so over animated because the client asked for both things. And sometimes you need to understand that you need to first like understand all the costs that you have in terms of JavaScript, back office, database, and then you're going to basically like define that strategy, and then you apply the animation in order to have like a good balance. So I guess that's it's the best way to maintain scalability and over time. Yeah,
that is so true. In the fact that I think that when we see this website too often, okay, and when we find ourselves, we all do. Every one of us here does out of the otherworldly stuff with 3D and so on and so forth, and then does magnificent, polished, design editorial website that works so well for major clients, and for major objectives, right? And what we often forget is that we don't pull off these 3D beautiful things or the editorial more clean and clear things because that day we woke up that way, right? I think we always start from the strategy and from what the objectives are with the project. Yeah. And what Nico said is incredibly correct in the fact that technology helps us achieve these things. Using Next compared to Vue when we're talking about JavaScript and so on is one of the most basic examples, but there are so many ways that the technicians, the devs, as well as the designers know. But deciding where you want to go is what helps. We've done this with, say, Gucci Osteria, which is this big website for 4 locations of a restaurant, okay? But that then was added with an e-commerce that now does its own thing, let's say. And that way we had a beautiful... Right? Sorry?
It's not WebGL. Gucci Osteria is not
WebGL. No, not at all. Not at all.
Exactly.
Simply because they simply started, they are a Michelin-starred restaurant, okay? And we said, yeah, this is going to be a corporate website. People, only customers will and guests will look it up, and we're good. And then during the work, they said, "Oh no, yeah, we're starting to produce a little bit of products, a little bit of cookies here, and so on and so forth." And now, pretty much, it's a fully-fledged e-commerce that we work on half of our weeks every week, right? And in that case, all the animations that we thought initially, most of those, aside from the very subtle, for some very subtle ones, the very easy, the very light ones, pretty much were thrown out the door. It's still a fantastic website in terms of design, in terms of usability, but it's a different thing, right? And the other thing that I want to ask everyone, every other panelist here, is their experience with, I think in English we say Vue CAG, which is pretty much the guidelines for accessibility to our website. Okay, we always work with those on different degrees, right? Depending on the project. In a project like Pasqua, when you're working on WebGLs, gigantic WebGLs on those parts of the website is very difficult to achieve a very high rating. While on Gucciasteria, we went on a very vertical route to actually get the most out of each criteria, right? But I think that finding animations and making experiences work while working with these guidelines, it's going to be so much fun and so much challenging to actually pull off. So I don't know if you have an experience in this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite interesting because it will going to require us to be so much more creative, especially when it comes to experiences. Because as we know, like most of the things are not supported necessarily, like accessibility is not necessarily can be connected with WebGL and specifically experiences and experiencing a lot of different spaces. So I think, yeah, we'll be forced to be a lot more creative in the way we do and see things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also, as you mentioned, like both, Filippo and Nico, like it's all about context, right? Like, are you designing a platform or are you designing a campaign? Like, is your audience also ready for that? Like, if, I don't know, if your target is a relatively like young gaming audience, then they would be like more likely to be into discovering 3D elements and stuff. And then they will be also a bit forgiving about performance or like laggy websites. Whereas
so
like,
true.
To talk with people that want to directly access information. I don't know. I don't see, for example, some kind of like governmental website when you have to redo your passport with your like 3D WebGL passports, or maybe actually
exactly
maybe in the future with the Apple Vision, who knows? But I think it's really a matter of context. Like like knowing your audience and knowing the why you are doing this project.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your insights on this. And I see another, yes, Niccolò, absolutely. I was about to get to this, but in consideration of our time, I thought it might be good to sort of close up this discussion with sort of the context of the recent developments, such as the recently announced Apple Vision Pro. And so with sort of these advancements in sort of mixed reality and the technology available, even though it's not, necessarily available for the general public at the moment, it's very much up to the early adopters and people sort of like us to define what direction it will take. But in that case, what is your vision for the future of human-computer interactions and these experiences we're talking about?
What is your vision for the Vision Pro?
The vision is like Vision Pro. No, I mean, like that's a great question. I mean, like I would love like to talk and like end up with these guys because I mean, I do think that people just like show like Vision Pro as like kind of like a new toy that people can have. But I do think that they create like a new computer, a computer that you can experience with your eyes and can change everything. That's what we actually like we live today. And I do think that maybe like in 10 years we can look back to like our days and it probably will be like Neanderthalian like era or like I would look today at paint in the 90s. I mean, like who knows? I was like, trying and testing like AR like these days. And I do think that probably like in a few years, maybe we don't call it like website anymore. Maybe we can call it like spatial website where we can enter like inside will be probably like kind of like gamification, I do think. I mean, recently we are starting to see this kind of like more, like complex website, like more like cyberpunky and futuristic. It's very trendy from like a design perspective, but also I would say that the technology is like evolving like every day, every month. And probably one thing that, I'm super excited, I don't know you guys, but about AI, because like I do think that when, for example, we can use like AI and machine learning like to integrate inside our website. And for example, like through what Apple Vision and Apple did, they created a standard, like the gestures and the pinch and like the eyes tracking. I do think that we can implement that gesture inside the websites. And so I enter the website and I like, like change the layout through AI based on your location, based of the user interaction inside the website. And I do think that that is beautiful. I mean, like imagine that, for example, like in I don't know, Dubai or like London, and based on my position, the color of the website can change, or based on the user interaction that the user have inside the website, the layout might like rearrange. And so I do think that it's beautiful, because it just like about like the Vision Pro, I think that they create a new standard once again for the first time in history, like as they did for like 2007 when they presented the iPhone. And I do think that's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I mean, like VR was already there with the Meta Quest, right? But like Apple is like setting that to a new standard. Means that also like thinking that I think like Meta Quest will launch their new goggles like in somewhere in fall, and like people are going to be like so excited with the Apple Vision. Means that it's probably gonna raise the sales of the Meta Quest crazy. Means that it will also like open a big market for designers to act upon, right? So
I mean, like the Meta Quest is more like exactly, but Meta Quest, I would say that is more like gaming oriented. I think what Apple do is like create a product that you can use every day.
That's I think the biggest selling point of the Vision Pro, right, Nico? The fact that all AR visors have been sold. I'm a gamer. I'm a complete nerd. Okay, so I like them. I tried all of them, right? Yeah, but at the same time, what makes me I always believed in the technology long term. I never enjoyed using any of the previous versions from anyone. Okay, from HTC Vive and so on and so forth. The convergence of technologies that we have right now and that are implemented. AR is just one thing, right? AI is another. Everything that goes into the panorama of Web3. People don't care about technologies, okay? They don't care that they're using AR. They don't care that how AI is built. They don't care what the blockchain is, for example, right? They care about use cases, I believe. And if in building a product that has nowhere gaming in its description, like the Vision Pro, I think that you can start finding more and more use cases where this becomes a useful tool, right? So that's the importance to me. It's great among ourselves. We discuss the technology itself, and I love it because I'm a nerd, because we do this and so on and so forth. But what the bottom line is that people care about the experience, care about actually being able to do things differently and in ways that improve their lives. And I think while not being an Apple maxi, this is something that Apple has always done in a fantastic way in integrating a plethora of new technologies and finding use cases for them without telling you it's actually this technology. They tell you it does this. That's the point. They don't tell you what's the technology at the base, right? So yeah, I'm very, very excited for this new Game Boy, kind of fat Game Boy kind of thing that the Vision Pro will be.
Don't be Alex is right. Don't be scared about AI. We are going to nail that.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're also customizing. They're also
Yeah.
customizing lenses, right? If you have optical shortcomings, like I clearly do, so that's a nice touch.
Also, like talking about AI, actually, like obviously, like Apple have been like suspiciously quiet about everything that is, I don't know, like natural language models or text to image, right? There are some gossip saying that it will be integrated into the Vision. So then you can imagine like this kind of like Tony Stark scenario when you will have like your micro Jarvis with your goggles. So yes, I have a lot of design scenarios that are quite exciting along the way.
Absolutely
Excited, yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Go on. I mean, I feel really bad every time doing this, but I was about to help us wrap up and transition to the question and answer session, just because we do have some questions from our viewers. So I guess I can, but I would just, this was such a amazing discussion. And again, I'm so sorry for needing to end this and put a pin in it right now. But I do want to highlight, so Lorenzo is asking, oh, sorry, not Lorenzo. Tamara is asking, hello, which applications do you recommend to learn to be able to do 3D interactive web design?
Spline.
Very practical.
Spline, without no doubt, yeah. I mean, like, if you want like to mix both like design and development at the same time, Spline. Because they already have like Free.js integrated inside. And so when you design, you already actually have the 3D model pre-built for web. So usually like in 3D, you create the model in Blender, for example, you export in GLTF OBJ, you import inside that like a Free.js scene, and then you render with WebGL. With Spline, well, you just like design and you bring it inside. So it's like Webflow for web. But Blender.
I also want to. I think, yeah, no, I'm very much in line with Nico here. If you're starting out, okay, and you're between commas by yourself, okay, you're freelancing on stuff. That's probably going to be the most straightforward and effective way. Yeah, if you want to take it a step further, I'd go with Blender as well. I'll leave the words to Liva and Alex and Tina after that, because they're going to take it at another step forward, I think. But yeah, I'm also very much excited to see what the Dora AI can actually do in this field, and see how much it will be needed for a beginner, let's say, to actually go through Spline instead of actually taking the jump and going, if they want to be able to customize the thing with their hands right away directly to, say, Blender stuff.
Yeah, because it works like basically Webflow, because with Spline you can immediately like recognize the post-processing and, for example, like the clone function that is literally like function that you have inside Free.js. And so that's super useful because it's like Webflow. You can indirectly like learn code in Webflow, for example, by visual. And so in Spline is the same thing. So if you want to learn how 3D works and you are a beginner, Spline is a great tool because you can start
like backtrack as well.
Yeah, you can see it. And then obviously like Blender for sure is the most, but I will say that like the masters here should talk. Media Monks, Liva, Alex.
Yeah.
Now you pretty much said it, like that those are the main tools. I'm also looking forward to see a little bit on as you mentioned, Dora AI. I haven't had a chance to explore it yet, but it would be interesting to see what it also can offer.
Yeah, big time. And yeah, back in uni, I've learned 3D on 3ds Max, and now I'm super happy that Blender is it's out there. I've myself like I don't have like much experience in 3D like since my university day, but yeah, Blender is definitely stand out from the crowd because of this open sourceness. It's free. The community is like over there like to back you up if there's any problem. There's like awesome updates that are released like on monthly basis or like even weekly basis. So yeah, that's always exciting to be part of this kind of tool community.
Yeah, absolutely. And this question was originally directed at Alex and Liva, but I do want to open this up to everyone else, Tina, Niccolò, everyone. But there are a lot of questions regarding how we accommodate for more low-end devices, like low performance. Do you sort of, how do you work with the limitations of working on, for example, mobile for websites like the Spotify website or the ones that we were reviewing previously?
Well, I guess it depends on the dev stack tools. I mean, obviously, if you work with WebGL, for example, like Persepolis, MediaMonks, that we didn't like show it completely, but it's a great website. Like
the fact that we didn't show Persepolis and we're talking about Persepolis since the start of this
I was like looking forward to see it, but yeah, we didn't have the chance. I mean, I was like at MediaMonks with Liva like a few months ago, and there was like this big screen like showcasing that Persepolis. Wow, like I was kind of like a kid. Liva knows that is my favorite website like ever, but yeah, I mean, like depends. Like if you use WebGL, maybe like one idea is like to decrease the complexity on low-end devices like mobile, for example, or for example, like decrease the functionality and still use like the 3D. That's something that is related to what we said before at the start when you define the strategy. When we talk about restrictions and complexity over complexity, we are talking also about like mobile devices. And so is when you start that you need to understand what kind of like dev step tool I use, like 3JS, WebGL, and then I can render it for mobile. I can have like the same speed performances. How can I improve the speed performances? How can I like showcasing by keeping like the aspect ratio in a vertical portrait mode, but at the same time like showing what actually you saw on desktop. And so all these things is something that really matter when you start. And yeah.
I also understand, I think it's quite important to understand what market are you actually, your product is going to live, and if it's going to be a global market. Always think about the backfall. If you want to create something unique, and like obviously not all the experiences will be available in every single country in the world. So just think about what is a simple version for that if what you've envisioned doesn't work for a specific browser or specific device. So always know what markets you're actually designing things for.
Yeah, it's more of working like on everything as a whole thing, and having always in mind that's going to be seen like in so many different screens, so many like different kind of formats. And yes, in the very first steps of creating like the web page or the interaction, you have to consider how it's going to be applied across everything. You cannot just focus on one and leave the rest as a surprise, I guess.
Designing holistically.
And thank you, Antoine, for the question. And out of consideration of our guest time, we might only be able to take one more question, but I do want to say that if you have any more questions, our lovely panelists are quite big in the design community and are active on social media. So we'll be putting a link to make sure that you can connect with us through their various platforms. But yeah, our final question, let's take a look, is from Gopinath, and they are asking, as a beginner, how do we get started with building these kinds of interactive and engaging websites? So interesting perspective here.
With development knowledge or without development knowledge?
Interesting.
Yeah,
there are two answers, I think, to this, right? One is correctly what Niccolò is saying. Rather than development itself, it's more of technically speaking or thought speaking. Because in my mind, the one thing that is at the bottom line of all of this, at the base of all of this, is that if you want to create this, and I mean sell, but I want to say sell, but with sell I mean explain why you're taking this route to a potential client, to a partner, to the rest of your team. Okay, at times why you're taking the experience route rather than doing something more static and so on and so forth. While the numbers most of the times, okay, they give reason to the static no animation thing, right? That's a very broad topic that I want to open, but I believe that the mindset must be that you have to embrace friction, right? Friction is not always bad. Okay, that's something that I started marketing in uni and so on, and I was drilled with the fact that friction with the user is a bad thing. Okay, friction is not necessarily a bad thing. Friction is what gives the user that second to reflect on what they're doing. Okay, if you simply want to sell a product, okay, and it's super straightforward, and the user already wants to buy the product, you need not to have friction. But if you want your brand to be remembered, if you want to create something, to create that thought-provoking moment in the user, friction can be good, okay, if you know how to use it and if it works strategically, even if it doesn't show up in the short term stats and data that you have on the website, so website or whatever campaign you're running, right? So I think ethically, no, in terms of thoughts, in terms of mindset, this is very important. You need to embrace that kind of thing. Otherwise, you're never going to pull off one of these experiences, simply because people won't believe in you and won't trust you in actually pulling off their vision and pulling off their results, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, like, it's totally true. I have like very, very simple tip. Learn code, in my opinion. Like everyone, like, I mean, I wish like every designer like know about coding, not because they need to code, because I do think that code can change the way how you design things. And so that's very important. That's very important. Like,
it can just be the basic as well. I would say it doesn't have to be like the no coding. Even like just for me, for example, I just know the basics, so I can change a code or something, but you can always like find around online, like the little sources that you need in order to build those little interactions, simple things to start with, or even like GPT can help you with that sometimes. You can just ask get some parts.
Exactly. Recently, I debugged like literally like everything with GPT, and it's great to learn. And like people are scared about AI, but actually I just like find for now, I mean, like I find it like very, very like truly amazing. Like yesterday, I basically like spent like 30 minutes like to debug a piece of code that probably like 1 year ago I took like 4 hours. So if you can use it well, and if you can understand the potential, you can basically like reduce stress, you can increase time, you can make clients happy, you can make you happy, and you can learn from it. It's very educational if you know basically how to use it. And it's very important, for example, how to use keywords. It's something that I talk about the Hours Conference. And the power of knowledge of communication is very important when you use AI, because the prompt and the input that you give to the AI will change basically the results they're going to produce. And so keywords also very important, because obviously you can produce or debug code, but at the same time, you need to understand how code works, because if you know keywords about code, you can give them like input as prompt, and then you can basically like elaborate better results. And so that's important.
This is fantastic how this is exactly the same thought I shared yesterday in the AI panel. We have exactly the same idea. Knowing how shit works is the base to actually do stuff properly, right? So
that's Phil, because
that's very Italian. That's very Italian.
It's very Italian, yeah.
And maybe one last thing as well. It's for me, it's crucial as well for designer to save some time to run side projects. Like side project is everything. Like, because with side project, you don't have the pressure of the deadline, you don't have the pressure of the brief. It's like, you exploring stuff. And maybe there is some stuff that you used to think attractive at some point, and then you try it and actually it's not for you. And like in the process, you discover something else that you had no interest into and actually like enjoy producing. So yeah, side project for me, it's definitely a go-go, as well as building a source feed. So it could be whatever, like could be Twitter, could be LinkedIn, Facebook, Reddit. Stay on top of the trends, like essential.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were discussing with Tina moments ago, right? Before the panel, she had these fantastic experiments she ran for the 36 days of type and so on, and pretty much seeing her work on something that's completely out of her own imagination, right? Out of her own fun. Okay, is what will bring. Most likely, aside from fun and experience and everything like that, it's what will bring attention and will bring like-minded people, okay, and like-minded companies to your door. And that's something that I think all of us, and Alex, I think you brought the most important note for anyone starting out, which is start doing stuff, right? Do stuff that you want to do for yourself and put it out there. And if that stuff is liked, and most likely, if you love doing what you do, you will find your niche in the fantastic world of the internet. Okay, you'll be able to test. You'll be able to actually work more and more into the kind of stuff that you like. So yeah, I want to give you props, because that's the most important, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's super important. Yeah, and as a person that I love experimenting, I feel like it's very, very important to get some time to try things out, because people will see that and then clients will come and hire you to create something for an actual project. So self-initiated projects, like little experimentations, even if it's just an hour per day, like playing around or something, it's very, very important. And yeah, it's sometimes like hard. You always say, I'm going to try that. And it's on your to-do list for years and years. So, well, I usually like suggest deciding like what are you gonna do during the week. So, for example, for me, I'm trying like every day to devote 1 hour that I'll learn like new skills, experiment, do something new. So it's always that 1 hour per day. So don't leave it like, I'm gonna experiment one day. Just try to put it in your schedule, however it works for you, and make sure that you do experiment and like try new things.
Most definitely.
taking so many notes myself right now. This is all super useful advice. And well, I'm afraid I always have to be the bad guy but I'm afraid that we've reached the end of our Q&A sessions. And again, if you have any more questions or you want to learn more about everyone's work, there's always social media. So feel free to follow that link we've put in the chat. And thank you to all of our panelists and you, the audience, for attending this Dora Expo event. We do have a couple more events, so be sure to sign up for those. And we'll be providing that QR code in just a second, but this marks the end. I feel so bad, but thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Liva,
Thank
Alex,
you.
Tina,
Thank
Nico.
you.
You're welcome in Italy whenever you want. We can go hours.